The Big Ten's 10-game conference schedule is closer than you think. Not officially. I'm not saying it's here already or that they are scheduling it already. There's not been a vote, a start date, or a formal announcement or anything like that. But when the commissioner talks like a 2014 playoff is becoming a matter of when and not if, a Big Ten athletic director says the league would seriously evaluate 10 conference games, and coaching contracts have already accounted for that possibility. This is no longer random offseason speculation. This is a plan waiting for permission. So in this episode of the Big Ten Huddle, brought to you by FanDuel, I'm going to show you the 3 clues that say the Big Ten has been preparing for 10 games much longer than most fans realize, why playoff expansion is the switch that could turn it on, and which programs would love the change and which ones would hate it. So here's what's actually going on. Here's what changed. During Big Ten Media Days, man, we got a lot out of that. It was a great time, viewing everything. I wish I was there. Didn't get a chance to be there. Signed up late for it. But anyway, it was a great time. A lot of great stuff. Tony Petitti continued pushing the idea of the 2014 college football playoff. Coaches, including Matt Rule, supported the larger field. Petitti also indicated that if the playoff grows that large, the Big Ten would likely eliminate its conference championship game. Then Nebraska athletic director Troy Dannon added the detail that matters most. He said that if the playoff expands to 24 teams, get ready for this, the Big Ten would seriously evaluate moving from 9 conference games to 10. That's the headline, but that is not the whole story. Dannon did not discuss 10 games like somebody tossing around a fun hypothetical, like, oh, yeah, sure, we might do that. It wasn't like they were at the bar and he was, 2 drinks in or something like that, or however many drinks in Troy Dannon needs to be, I guess. He connected it to more playoff access. In plain English, the league appears to be saying, give us enough postseason room to survive more losses, and we'll give television and fans more Big Ten games. This is part of the whole thing, but not all of it, right? As we've discussed here before, the Big Ten is tired of shopping their best teams off to ESPN, and it will help balance conference schedules. And a 10th conference game would help them keep most of their money that they would lose from losing the conference championship game. The national media is focused on the wrong part of the 2014 playoff debate. They are arguing about whether 24 teams are too many. The Big Ten is looking for what 24 teams would allow it to change. Troy Dannon connected a larger playoff directly to a possible 10-game conference schedule. Tony Petitti connected it to eliminating the Big Ten championship game, and he also connected it to expanding the schedule standardization. Put those together, and the proposal is not just a bigger bracket, it is a redesigned season. More league games, fewer non-conference games, no championship game, and more Big Ten teams entering the postseason. The playoff is not the destination, it's the permission slip for it all, right? Why does the Big Ten need that permission? Because a 10th conference game guarantees more conference losses. Ohio State might get another major opponent. Oregon might get another major opponent. Michigan, Penn State, USC, Nebraska, everybody gets another resume opportunity, but half the conference also gets another loss every Saturday. Under a smaller playoff, that can be self-sabotage. We saw that for years when the Big Ten had 9 conference games and the SEC had 8, right? You create a better television product, playing a harder schedule, and then watch another league get rewarded for having one fewer, losses against an easier path. Listen, that's not bravery. That is volunteering to be punished. A 24-team playoff field changes the calculation there. If 2 and 3 loss teams have more realistic access, the Big Ten can add inventory without treating every conference like a season-ending event. And if the championship game disappears, the top 2 teams no longer play an extra high-risk game after surviving 10 league opponents. But here's a detail that should really get your attention. The Big Ten was preparing for this before Dannon ever even said anything publicly. In fact, they have been for a while. Greg Flugar and I, we compared notes on this once or twice. Greg Flugar pointed out in his show, I think it was yesterday, that PJ Fleck's contract already contains language adjusting his win bonus if the Big Ten moved from 9 conference games to 10. Ten. Big Ten coaches also discussed the possibility during spring meetings, and the Big Ten is trying to seclude themselves to try and sabotage the Big 12 and the ACC. They won't admit it, but if you and the SEC stop playing those games, number one, it'll make Notre Dame scheduling tougher and make them have to join a conference, which is what the Big Ten wants to do, and then further create the divide between the Power 2 and the rest of college football. That does not prove a final decision has been made. It proves this is real enough for coaches, agents, athletic directors to plan around it. There is another clue in all this too. The Big Ten reportedly did not want to jump to 10 while the SEC remained as 8 conference games and opponents. The SEC has now moved to 9. One major objection is gone there. So the sequence is sitting in front of us. The SEC adds a 9th game. They also require an out-of-conference Power 4 opponent. The Big Ten pushes for a larger playoff. The commissioner discusses removing the championship game, and an athletic director connects playoff expansion to a 10th Big Ten game. Those are not 4 unrelated conversations. They are all fit under the same blueprint. The Big Ten's idea to circulate the idea of a 10th conference game is actually pretty simple. They want to do it and know others want them to do it as well, so they will do it once the following happens. Once they get what they want, they will do what others want. Step 1. Expand the playoff to 24 teams so more conference losses are survivable. Step 2, eliminate the Big Ten championship game so the league's best teams are not punished with an extra possession audition. Remember, every team who lost their conference championship game has dropped in the rankings except Alabama last year. Go figure. Step 3, move to 10 conference games, creating more valuable matchups for Fox, CBS, NBC, and Peacock to pay them more money. That gives the network better inventory and the conference more money. The television pieces matter here as well. The Big Ten has 18 members spread from New Jersey to Los Angeles and several media partners that need attractive windows. A 10th conference game creates 9 additional league matchups across the schedule. Those are games the Big Ten controls and can place across Friday nights, Saturday windows, broadcast networks, and streaming. It also helps solve one of expansion's most annoying problems. Teams do not play each other often enough. Fans do not want an 18-team conference, so Ohio State can only play, USC once every 4 years or whatever that might be, or Michigan can barely play Oregon, or Nebraska, feels disconnected from half the league. 10 games creates more rotation and more chances to build actual conference relationships, actual interconference games. That is the upside. The downside is what gets squeezed out. With 10 conference games, every Big Ten team has only 2 non-conference openings. One may already belong to a major rivalry. USC has Notre Dame returning to in 2030. Iowa has Iowa State. Other schools want regional games as well. Power 4 home and homes are a manageable home game that helps pay the bills. 2 openings disappear quickly in this scenario. Nebraska is the perfect example. The Huskers already have future games with Oklahoma, Arizona, Oklahoma State, Cincinnati, and Dannon said Nebraska is far along in discussions for more Power 4 home and homes in the 2030s. So this wouldn't be something that just happens the next year. This would be something that would be planned out and happen later on. At a 10th Big Ten game, in Nebraska must then decide how often it wants to play 11 major opponents on one schedule. That sounds fantastic in August. It feels different when the injuries start piling up in November and the committee starts counting losses instead of appreciating the ambition of who you're playing or not giving you credit for who you're playing because they just favor the SEC so much. This is where the teams split into winners and losers. The biggest brands may love the exposure and marquee games provided playoff access, expands. Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Penn State, USC, they're built to sell national championship matchups, and a team like Ohio State, a 2014 playoff I cannot even imagine how often, they would make it pretty much every single year. I can't imagine they would lose it. But all of them and Indiana are in the top 15 of odds to win the national championship on FanDuel, not only because they are good, But because people will bet on them, people will watch them, people will pay attention to them. Then you have programs that climb, they feel a little bit different. Yes, they have fans and they have people who watch them, but they don't necessarily have the national brand as much as some other teams too do. We're talking about the Purdue's, the Northwesterns, Maryland, some other teams like that to stack an early win. A 10th league game gives them another Saturday against a conference opponent with comparable resources and a real chance to beat them. Schools with protected non-conference rivalries also lose flexibility. They would effectively have one open date left to balance money, recruiting, tradition, and playoff strategy. The biggest loser in the 10-game Big Ten Conference schedule, if it so happens, isn't even a team though. It would be the Big Ten's non-conference rivalries, right? 10 Big Ten games sounds great, and most weeks they will be, but every school would have only 2 non-conference spots left. Of course, it works for teams like Oregon versus Oregon State, Washington versus Washington State. Those aren't necessarily high-profile teams. Those would feel like teams you could play. But USC uses one on Notre Dame. Iowa uses one on Iowa State. We just talked about Nebraska. That would make it more difficult for them to play former teams that they were in the Big 12 with, or, rivals with Oklahoma or Colorado. Suddenly, there's almost no room for creativity in your schedule. Fewer regional series, fewer surprise home and home games, fewer chances to revive the games realignment took away. 10 Big Ten games would improve the conference scheduling, but it could also turn non-conference scheduling into one protected rivalry and one guaranteed home win. That is a real cost, but here's the bottom line. The question is not whether the Big Ten likes 10 conference games or not. The evidence shows that the league has considered it for years. Contracts anticipated it. Coaches have discussed it. Media demands support it. Now an athletic director has tied it to the playoff structure that would make it competitively possible. The real question is whether the playoff gives the Big Ten enough protection to go out there and do it. If the field stays small and the committee keeps valuing, records over anything else, 10 games would feel reckless, and it's something the Big Ten should not do. The Big Ten would create more great matchups and more reasons to eliminate its own contenders. But if the playoff reaches 24, the championship game goes away and multiple lost teams receive legitimate access. I believe the Big Ten will move toward 10 conference games eventually. Maybe not immediately. It's not going to happen immediately, but the direction is clear. And once we see the 2014 playoff happen, which I think it will happen eventually, this is what will most likely happen. It's the blueprint waiting for the numbers to work. The Big Ten wants more control, more premier games, more money, more television inventory. A 2014 playoff may finally give it cover to add their 10th game. Would you rather the 10 Big Ten games and only 2 non-conference games, or keep the current 9-game model and maybe just require a P4 team? Or would you like the 9-game model with like a Big Ten SEC challenge? Personally, that's what I'd go for. I think that'd be awesome. But put your answers in the comments. Subscribe for more Big Ten football analysis and talk here at the Big Ten Huddle. We appreciate you being here. Have a good one.